At some point in the book, somebody said something about how rare it was for an immortal to fall in love with a human, and I was like, it must not be that rare because Tella has not one but two. So, hi, my name is Chloe Jane, and welcome to my channel where we talk about books, movies, and TV, and today we have an exciting video because we are talking about Finale, which is the last book in the Caraval series. But before we get into everything, I wanted to go ahead and establish our drinking rules. So if you're new to my channel, we like to play fun little drinking games. If you want to join in, grab your drink of choice. And for our drinking rules, I think you guys should take a drink anytime I say immortal, paradise, or the fallen star. Let's get into it. Cheers! In my last video, I suspected that it was going to be dual point of view between Donatella and Scarlet, but when I opened up my book and I got to Scarlet's point of view, I said, oh no. I don't know why. I really don't hate Scarlet. I just have so much more fun in Donatella's point of view, so it was like, oh my gosh. Okay, let's get into Scarlet's love triangle. So in the last book, she started reaching back out to her fiance from the first book. So in this book, she finally was gonna meet up with him, and her and Julian had been on like a break or something because she started having issues with him. And I don't know, I was very over the love triangle thing, especially for this love triangle with Scarlet, Julian, and the Count, because it was very evident that she was always going to pick Julian. And even with Donatella's love triangle with Legend and Jax, I feel like that one worked a little bit more because we spent so much time with Jax in the last book and in this book. But this one with Scarlet, even when she goes to meet the Count for the first time, Julian tags along, and he's just there in the corner, like, bickering in the corner. I'm like, oh my gosh. First of all, why did you let him come on your date? Second of all, Julian, why are you going on this date if you're just gonna be, like, in her ear complaining the whole time? Like, can you not? That was pissing me off. That was a moment where I was like, ugh, Julian, you're getting on my nerves. So then Paradise, their mother, finally wakes up. Tella follows their mother, who runs away, and basically her mother kisses the fallen star, who is a fate, like the most powerful fate, and then she stabs him and she tries to kill him. Then he stabs her back and she dies. And I was like, oh, she's dead? Like, actually? Like, dead ass? So we did all of this for nothing? Are you kidding? Like, the entire last book we were working towards freeing her mother. Literally, Legend freed all of the fates just because Donatella sacrificed herself to save her mother. And then her mother just dips out. Right. I felt like that was so unsatisfying, especially because Donatella really didn't get any kind of closure with her mother or anything, so I was just like, oh. I wish that we had a moment with both Donatella and Scarlet and Paradise all together as like a family again, where they could just have like one moment where they kind of all see each other eye to eye, and they have like one last moment before she dies, just so that they could have something. Like, I felt like it was all for nothing. And I will say, Paradise might not necessarily be the best mother, but she's a bad bitch. There's no denying that. Like, she was robbing everybody left and right. Whenever she was younger, she was making an immortal fall in love with her, then trapping him in the car. And through their mother's death, we realize that the reason she was trying to kill him in the first place is because she was trying to kill him with love, kill him with kindness. If they fall in love with an immortal, they have the potential to become human. So she thought that once she freed him from that card, he was gonna love her, she could stab him, he would die, he would be human and he would die. But he didn't love her. And then she died. So yeah, it was an Uno reverse on her. But you know, she took a chance, she tried her best, and she did it for her daughter. So maybe she's a good mother. I don't know. That's still kind of up in the air. Okay, so Legend and Tella have been kind of going back and forth, and she's like, what's the deal with him? Like, why is he so standoffish? He's visiting me in my dreams, but he's like barely seeing me in person. What's the deal? Like, do you want me or not? And then he ends up offering to make her immortal. When I read that, I screamed. I said, yes! Are you kidding, Tella? He just offered to make you immortal. Like, take it. Are you serious? Like, take it. And his main reasoning for doing this is because he didn't want her to die, because all of these fates are out, so she's obviously very vulnerable because she's human. And he was like, let me make you immortal. But then Tella realizes, wait, you don't want to make me immortal for my benefit, you want to make me immortal for your benefit, because you're falling in love with me, and if you fall in love with me, you have the chance to become human, and then you're vulnerable. I was just very much like, girl, say yes, like that, like, are you kidding? Like, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity, like, to be immortal. I don't know, but she ultimately was like, no, I want real love. Like, I want that. I want to be in love. I want love like my sister has with Julian. I'm gonna get that. And he's like, nah. I'm just kidding. He doesn't say that. But he's like, I can't give you that. But no, when you think about it, Tella really is that girl, because not only did she have Legend in love with her, she also had Jax pining after her. And the whole thing is that they kept saying this over and over, where, like, if a fate or an immortal is in love with you, they'll never actually be in love with you, because you'll just become their obsession, and they'll just want to, like, possess you and control you. And so that's kind of what was happening with Jax. But I don't think that was happening with Legend at all. Like, he didn't show signs of that at all. So I was like, okay, you're not convincing me that that would happen if she turned immortal and they got together. Let's go back to the love triangle with Scarlet, Julian, and the Count. So turns out that's done because the Count is dead. Who killed him? Scarlet's father. Not her father from the first book, which is what it was kind of framed to be. It was kind of framed of like, oh no, her father has come back. But no, she has a different father. Her actual biological father is the fallen star, the Fate, which means she's half Fate, question mark, which that's kind of crazy, because in my last video I speculated that maybe Tella and Scarlet were half sisters because of like the whole lost heir thing, but I was actually kind of right. It's just flipped. They have the same mother and different fathers. But finding out that the fallen star is Scarlet's father made me even more confused as to why in the last book we saw that Paradise was so willing to give up Donatella instead of Scarlet to like this church that worships the fallen star or whatever. I was like, okay, so did she give up Tella because she knows that Scarlet is his real daughter and that he'd want to control her or something, or turn her into a Fate? But in that case, wouldn't it make more sense that she was more willing to give up Scarlet because he wouldn't like want to like kill her, whereas Donatella, he wouldn't care about her at all and she would be of no use to him, so he would like easily discard her or something? I don't know. I'm still very confused about that. It was never explained. So now everybody's working together to kill the fallen star, right? And we have this scene where Donatella is trying to get information on him, but as payment she has to promise to sacrifice her future child in order to learn more about the fallen star, which I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Like, your mom did the same thing to you, now you're gonna do the same thing to your daughter. Let's not. How about we stop sacrificing children? I don't like that. I know it's fiction, but like, I don't like that. Anyways, they're in this tent and then Legend appears out of nowhere and she's like, and he basically overhears that she has a child and they have a whole moment together. But anyways, she goes back to like the fortune tellers or whoever it was, and she's like, okay, let's get back into it. Tell me about this daughter. And he's just in the back, like, standing there. And I'm like, this is such an awkward conversation to have, because, like, that's the man you're seeing and you're talking about your future child. And so she's asking questions about her future daughter. And I jokingly wrote down, I said, imagine the next question she asks is the father in the room with us? Or, but then Tella is like, is he the father? Just straight out asks if he's the father. And then he is in the back and he said, who else would the father be? And now he's mad. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Like, what is happening? Y'all aren't even technically together and now we're talking about y'all having a child together. What is happening? Right now the only options are Jax and Legend, so one of them is gonna be the father. But I thought that was so funny. I was giggling and kicking my feet during that conversation. And then we have some drama with Legend and Julian. I'm like, oh, the brothers are fighting, they're getting into it. But I will say, Julian kind of gagged Legend with this line. Let me read it to you. We have free will, Tella. If you become immortal, you won't lose your free will. You won't feel my brother controlling you, but you'll never feel him loving you the way that I love Crimson. I was like, ooh, Legend, he kind of gagged you. He kind of got you there. Like, he kind of read you to filth. And honestly, mad respect to Julian, because multiple times in this book he was standing up to his brother in defense of Donatella, because he was like, you're not being fair to her. She deserves the truth. She deserves honesty. She deserves somebody who's actually going to love her. And if you can't give that to her, you need to stop playing around with her. So we respect Julian for that. That was hot. That was hot, Julian. And then we have a scene where Donatella's like, ugh, I have to break up with him, I have to end this, so I'm just gonna say something really hurtful so that he doesn't think that I actually love him. And I honestly hate this trope whenever this happens, where somebody's like, I'm just gonna lie to them and pretend like I don't actually love them. I can't stand it. She says to Legend, I actually think I fell more in love with the idea of you than the real you. I just wanted to see if I could make the Legend fall in love with me, and I did. And I don't actually love you. And I was like, girl, that's tough. You can't take that back. You better be careful. Especially since we know Tella's character and we know she loves to plot and she loves to scheme and she's very secretive. That's actually kind of plausible that she would do something like that. Obviously, we know she loves Legend, but still, her telling him that, I'm like, girl, you better be careful, because he might believe you, because you're a plotter and you're a schemer. You're Alison de Laurentiis. Like, going back to the brother drama, we have this one conversation between Julian and Legend, and I really liked this because I thought it was really interesting. And they're basically arguing about the whole immortality versus love thing, and Julian really wants Tella to save Legend and to turn him human because he misses that part of his brother. But anyways, Legend says to Julian, and yet all the love in the world wouldn't have brought Tella back without my magic. But then Julian responds with, she never would have died without your magic either. So it's like, oh, the brothers are fighting. And I thought that was so interesting because Legend has a point. Like, he's been able, because of his magic, he's been able to save Donatella multiple times. But also on the flip side of that, she never would have even been around any of these fates or any of these people had she not gotten involved in Caraval and gotten involved with Legend. Let's back up a little bit. Whenever Paradise died, Tella was grieving so much that she asked Jax to take away some of her feelings because that's part of his abilities. And they basically had to do this like blood ritual, but what he didn't tell her is that they actually got married. And I was like, okay, does marriage even matter since she's a human and you're an immortal or you're a fate? It's like, does that even matter? But it basically said that it ties them together for eternity. But I'm like, okay, still, does that even matter if she's gonna die in 100 years and you're gonna live forever? Like, but I am a little bit confused about the blood sharing thing, because I said in my last video that I thought whenever Legend shared his blood with Tella, it was gonna give her like part of his powers or his immortality or something. So I was like, okay, her and Jax literally got married for eternity, but nothing came out of her and Legend sharing each other's blood. So I was just like, okay. But I do like that in the last book we had the foreshadowing with the conversation with Scarlet and Donatella whenever she was talking about how gloves are like a marital custom when a man gives you gloves, and then Donatella was like, well, I would rather blood. And she did. She got blood from Jax and they got married. So that was some nice foreshadowing. Now that I'm thinking about that conversation, that would have worked even better if Donatella had chosen Legend and chosen immortality with him, because that conversation with Scarlet and Donatella would have showed that Scarlet is choosing like real human love and Donatella is choosing like this immortal love, this like more magical, powerful kind of love. I feel like that conversation would have foreshadowed that their dynamics and what they want and how they want different things. So while I was taking notes reading this book, I just kept saying over and over, why do I still love Jax? Why do I still love Jax? Like, why did you make me love Jax? Like, I'm confused. You're telling me that he's bad, but why do I still love him though? And at some point I wrote down how Jax is a very sad character, because at the end we see that he's willing to force Tella to be with him and fall in love with him through like his powers, rather than her just like being in love with him to be in love with him. And he's like literally forces her to, even though he knows it's not real. And I was like, that's so sad. Like, so then we have this whole plan to kill the fallen star, and Scarlet's gonna travel back in time, watch her mother, study her, go back to the present, and then pretend to be her mother so that the fallen star thinks that Paradise is back and that he'll fall in love with her, become human, and they can kill him. I was like, that's a terrible idea. One, Scarlett's gonna be able to perfectly imitate her mother after watching one moment of her mother's life. Like, okay. And then two, if he didn't die the first time that she came back from the cards, why would he fall in love with her now? Like, he didn't love her then, why would he love her now? Whenever we first found out about the love being the immortal thing, I was like, are they gonna try and use Scarlett being his child and that kind of love being the reason that he turns human and they kill him? But then I was like, no, that's not gonna be the way he dies, because whenever Scarlett stays with the fallen star, he's like abusing her, like physically abusing her. I was like, okay, so it's not gonna be that. And he didn't love her mother clearly because he killed her, so like, I don't know what the plan is. Also, her pretending to be her mother, like, that's your biological father. That's weird. Like, that's weird. I don't know. I just felt so weird reading that. I was like, that's your father. Like, ew. But it was nice to see Scarlett go back in time and have this conversation with their mother and kind of get to see Paradise's point of view and like why she did some of the things she did to her and Tella. So that was nice that Scarlett could get that closure with her mother, because I felt really bad that she wasn't there with Tella in the beginning of the book before Paradise died. So, and it was a nice moment for Scarlett's character arc, because she kind of realizes, yeah, I've been mad about this the whole time and I've been blaming her, but now I kind of understand why she did the things that she did, and I'm kind of doing those things now. So then we're back in the present day and Scarlett's like, okay, I'm going method, and she's pretending to be her mother. Everything's going great. Her father believes her, and then she slips up and she says Paradise, and I'm like, girl, we did all that, we went back in time, you were literally, what happened to the method? What happened to the method acting? Like, we were in her mind and she was like, Paradise wouldn't stumble, so I won't stumble, I'll take a step forward, and Paradise wouldn't look at Tella like that, so I'm not gonna look at Tella like that. I'm like, what happened to the method acting from 2 seconds ago? Girl, all of that for nothing. And then Scarlett's able to talk to him and say, this isn't you. So yeah, Scarlett talks to him and she's like, this isn't you. You loved my mother, and you loved my mother whenever she was pregnant with me. Like, look at what you've become. And then he turns human and they kill him. And I was like, okay, right, that, how convenient. I was just like, I don't believe that she was just suddenly able to talk him into love and talk him into being human after we saw him literally kill Paradise and then physically harm Scarlett. I'm like, okay. So we have this final scene with Legend and Tella, and basically he gives up his immortality to be with her. She's like, I don't want you to have to do that. And he's like, it's too late, I'm already in love with you. And then he turns human. Boom. And I don't know, it was really sweet to read, but I was just like, I don't know, I wish they would have just been immortal together. Like, also the whole thing is like, you're telling me that he doesn't love her because he's still immortal, but I'm like, I feel like we've seen, it's very clear through his actions throughout the last book and this book that he clearly loves her. So my whole thing is like, what is your definition of love? Because is it just that he hasn't said it to her yet? Because I'm like, through his actions, he's very clearly shown that he loves Tella. I mean, he's sacrificed himself for her to save her multiple times. He's always trying to find ways to make her happy. He always wants to be around her. He's very protective of her. So I'm like, his actions show that he loves her. So I'm like, you're not convincing me. You can't say this, but then not show it, you know? So then the book ends with Scarlett being the Empress. So I was like, okay, I guess. Okay, I want to wrap up with my final thoughts on the entire series. One thing I will say is that I wish it was a little bit more planned out over the entire series. I'm a series girly. I love series. I love longer storylines. But I felt like this was very much book to book, and there wasn't a huge overarching story going through all 3 books. There were definitely some things that I am still wondering about that weren't answered. So first of all, everything with their grandma and how she was involved with Caraval and the Legend, I felt like that was such a big part of the first book, but then the second book and the last book, we like never mentioned it again. I'm like, okay, what happened with that? Because they were alluding to their grandmother being romantically involved with Legend, or her like having played the games and it going really poorly. So, I don't know, I felt like that should have come full circle at the end. Lastly, I wanted to talk a little bit about Scarlett's character arc. I said in my first video with the first book that I felt like she didn't have a lot of agency, and that ended up being a part of her arc. I feel like her arc wasn't built up enough. Like in the first book, she's very much fearful, follow the rules, do what needs to be done. But then in this last book, in the middle of the book, she's like, no, I'm going to stand up to my father. I'm going to go with him and I'm going to risk everything so I can save everybody that I love. And I was like, yes, I love that, but I wish it was built up a little bit more. And I think it was kind of hard to do that because the second book in the series was from Donatella's point of view. It was kind of hard because we go from her being drastically different in the first book, jump to her next point of view in the last book, and now she's like making these changes and deciding to do things differently. So I felt like it was really hard because of the different point of views in the first book and the second book. It was just hard to show that, so I get it. But nonetheless, I had so much fun reading this series. I hope you had fun following along if you've been watching these videos. I am so excited to get into the Another Broken Heart series. That's why I even started this series to begin with, because I've heard so much hype about it. So yeah, stay tuned for that video, and let me know if you have any other book recommendations that you'd want me to do on this channel. And yeah, thank you for hanging out with me. Bye!